I almost said good morning again. Y'all think I'm playing with this? No, it's been one heck of a week. So hey, nobody watches the first 30 seconds anyway. So I'm Mike Asherbrander, the proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business community, and I've got one of our beloved members, Jen Lynn. So how are you today, my friend?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And I see that Dr. New, a forever supporter, is out there in the comment section already. She
Oh
is.
wow,
Yeah.
she must have been sitting there with the button, just clicking, waiting for it to show up. Thank you, Doctor New. Was that what you were doing?
Yes, that's what she was doing. It's good that
She
way.
is awesome.
Yes, she
So,
is.
hey, last minute you came in to help me out. Um, the lovely Sindal Get Her Done is she's got things to do today, and so we just want to thank her for all her hard work and thank you, Jen Lynn, for stepping in and helping us out. Hey, Rob, happy Wednesday to you, brother. Appreciate it. So, you know, guys, I'm not the best at this kind of stuff, but it, I think most people have already noticed or known that a great friend to not just me but many, and a beloved member of the Hounds. She had wrote in the anthology with Dr. CJ, Jen Lynn, lots of us, and she recently passed away. And we just wanted to take this time because we have some amazing folks uh, that are doing great things in mental health. Right. And she was all about that. She was a very, very inspiring person. So let me put this up here. Again, I'm kind of flying solo, so it's all right. I've got help, but it takes an army to help me out. So I wanted to make sure that we had some time just to honor the life and memory and work and impact of Jessica Harvey. A great friend of mine. Got to meet her through the anthology. We became quick friends. We had a lot of shared values, and she is extremely inspiring. The things that she has overcome and went through, and she utilized that. It drove her to help other people to go through and dive through their own issues, to be okay, to accept themselves, and all these other things that she has done. One of the most genuine people I've ever met in my life. Zero malice in this lady, and honestly, got to say, life has been better for knowing her, and that we're going to dedicate this show to her because this work lives on through us, through others, these three amazing people we have as guests today. And I just wanted to give everybody a chance just to say, hey, if you have something that you want to share, you don't have to. Uh, but I know she was loved by so many people, Jen Lynn. And I'll start with you. What would you like to say? Because you did a wonderful tribute to her the other day, and you know, uh, just I loved it. So
She was just an amazing, beautiful soul. And this is what legacy and impact are all about is, and we kind of talked a little bit about it earlier, but that's being remembered for exactly who you were and what it was that you were about, which just was, God, she just had that light. She was just a light that lit up a room, and every way that she supported and impacted everybody that she came across. And she focused so much of her time on what it was sharing that what she had learned through her own experiences. And when we can live a life in that way and be who it is that we are and be authentic and show up for ourselves and show up for our communities in such beautiful ways, that is what legacy and impact is all about. And it's just such a beautiful honor when we are left on the other side to bring that emotion and that motion and that acknowledgement to a life that was so well and beautifully lived.
yeah, you speak from the heart, and that's thank you for that. And she, yeah, just an amazing individual. Everybody's saying it. I mean, Dr. New, Susanna, absolutely. She was an absolutely beautiful person, amazing friend. And, you know, her work and life and legacy will live on, and it will live on in a great way. And that's what counts to me. So, and hey, thank you for this, Jen Lynn. Um, there's other pictures like I was supposed to send umbrella hats, and all this, but this says it all. My favorite picture right there is the second one. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the most like, if you had to put everything into words, into a picture, to me, that was it.
It is it. It's the picture of 1,000 words, 1,000 smiles. It's just so um, it does encompass her in every way. Hardworking, caring, loving, and just look at the care there, and the fun of we're out here, and who even knows what she's shoveling there in the garden, but she's loving it every single minute of it, and you can see that in her body language, and just every way that she was, and that's how she showed up in life. That's how she came in, and that's how she showed up, and that's all we can ask of each other and ourselves.
Yeah, and this was Tanzania, right? So this is where she was out there, not just helping, folks in need and poverty and in these countries, but autistic children, right? It when you when you're taking on and doing your own thing and you turn around and help someone else with it, I mean, it says it all. So anybody throughout the show, you're welcome to share your memory, share your good times of Jessica, and it was just an honor to know her. And so we're all better for it. So we'll dedicate this show with these fine folks. And honestly, this is about seeking help. This It's about helping each other. And I can't wait to get started. So, um, we all miss her already, but that her spirit will live on, and we'll make dadgum sure of it. So how about we roll this intro, and I'll figure out how to push these dadgum buttons, and we'll get it going, guys. And I appreciate everyone in the comments. Don't hide the grieving process, you know, and it doesn't make you weak at all to cry. I mean, you don't want to cry over stupid stuff like spilled milk, but this,
The most
I'll admit it. It's hard not to right now, to be honest, and that's okay because we're human beings, and if you feel, you cry. So,
the
um,
most important thing I think that we can do to honor ourselves is feel our feelings, and this episode is about mental health, and we have a lot of people that are working in fields that this is something that they deal with on a daily basis, and so we have to be able to have the hard discussions. We have to be able to say, hey, I need help. We have to be able to have these conversations because we depend on each other. We need to depend on each other. And that's what makes life beautiful, is when we can depend on each other. And we talk about brotherhood a lot. And I know that that's something that's fixing to be spoke about a lot, because as a paramedic firefighter for 15 years myself, I understand the culture. I understand that brotherhood. And once a brother or sister, you always are. And that is exactly, though, that type of support that we need inside of our businesses, that we need inside of our homes and inside of our communities all the time, to watch over one another, and also to understand that all we can do is what we can do and what we have done, and that the most loving way that we can bring honor to somebody is to keep moving forward, and
yeah,
while at the same time not leaving anybody behind. So I just also too want to say that I am available, and the deeper seasoning at gmail.com is a place that you can reach out to me. It's a place that I opened for these kinds of conversations and for this kind of support also. So please do reach out. Nobody is alone here. Nobody.
no, well said. And again, th- this these folks, firemen. I was a fireman for right about 8 years, and that's my hope of this show. That people, that there's support galore out there. There's a lot of things and resources, but whatever blocks us from getting that, it blocked me. And then when these guests come up, it's my hope that someone will see them and say, "Hey, they're like me. They experienced what I experienced," and that will open the door for them to go seek that help, to live that full life and make that impact. That's what I'm so honored to be able to do this. And so let's get this show going. And thank you again. I appreciate you so much for your help.
Absolutely.
All right, Papa's looking for the buttons. All right, there we go. I found it.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high-level, heart-centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Asherbranner, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
All right. Hey, right before we get started, now this is appropriate, right? Lieutenant Colonel, retired U.S. Air Force, J. Scott Heathman, good friend of mine, Hound. Man, this guy's everywhere. Wanted to give him a shout out. Command with Courage, right? Elevating Others, LLC.com. Real deal here. He works with corporates, corporations, departments, EQ, leadership, consulting, and I'll get the word out, coaching. And he has been instrumental in helping me learn and coach through some things. And just go check him out. His content is great. He's a great guy, great personality, and he's full of knowledge. And when it comes to somebody with 20 plus years of military experience transitioning into business, man, hey, he could write a book on it. So everybody go up, check out Scott Heathman. He's on LinkedIn. He's also check out his website, scan that QR code. If you want to see it again, just put it in the comments. I'll put it in there. But it's J. Scott Heathman. Love having you in the pack, my friend, and keep doing great things. And I have to get another shout out to this. We did a show with Mike King Biz on ESPN Radio. It comes out on Tuesdays on live stream at 2 p.m. Eastern. And Rochelle Proser, I'll mess her name up, and it's the easiest one. That's what I do. It's my trademark. Uh, but she is amazing. Orchid Healthcare Solutions. She is not just an oncology RN. Her family, right? And she talks about this openly. Her family, her daughter, and it has drove her to really lead in cancer research and help pull the medical community. And it's done amazing, amazing things. You wouldn't believe the amount of support and organizations and that just flock to this. This has been life changing, and it's just getting better. So everyone, go scan that QR code. Check out Rochelle Proser, and we will get that out there. And check out my post. I'll post about these things so you guys can keep up with them. But just amazing things going inside the Hounds and just the friends of the Hounds, and we're blessed beyond measure. So hey, before I get going, all right, cheap infomercial time. If you're a stray out there, hey, no more strays. All right, welcome home. All right, heart-centered, high-level professionals getting things done through reciprocity, man. That's what we're all about. So without further ado, we're just gonna bring everybody up as soon as I find the button. And here we go. Just let them all in like cattle. Just everybody move when you come in. Move. Come on, have fun. Move. All right. Wait, there's Shawn. He's so quiet. I was gonna leave Shawn just sitting back there.
I've never been accused of that.
There we go. All right.
Caffeinated.
So before we get started, we got our own little superhero right here, our business Santa Claus, I'm gonna call her today, Mrs. Claus, Barbara Hazelden. And let me give my spiel first. So everybody reads this shameless plug and all these articles and things that we spotlight amazing people and share them with the LinkedIn community, right? And I love it when people, oh, well, you did a great job writing that. Now, come on now, y'all know I didn't write that, right? I'm like Dr. X, right? Hey, that's my superpower right here. So Barbara, after you saw the Corsa Racing show with me and come on now, you saw the show with Chasing Forehand. Sorry, Chasing, I know he's watching. You jumped on it. You jumped on it. You said, hey, I want to help these guys support this and get this amazing mission out to other people. So thank you for that. Give me your 2 cents if I didn't spoil it for everybody. But you jumped on the opportunity to help these amazing folks. And I just wanted to give you that kudos, because you didn't have to do that. And that just says everything about who you are, as well as your incredible writing skills.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that. And just to give everybody an idea, first of all, I have tremendous respect for the Corsa racing guys and for veterans and first responders in general. And I'm also a former boater, a longtime boater. We have lived on 3 boats and cruised on 2 of them. And I have also tremendous respect for the ocean. And putting all that together, when I found out what these guys were doing, and I found out why they were doing it and how they wanted to start this nonprofit to benefit the veterans and first responders, I was just like, I have to help them. And we all have our talents, and mine is getting writing out there that has more impact. And so since the show, I've been doing some writing for these guys. The shameless plug this coming week, the next one coming, is going to be about them. I'm working on it now. And I've just made a commitment to do whatever I can to help them because they're doing such good work. And, you know, they're benefiting veterans, first responders, and those folks have tremendous mental health needs, ongoing needs. And this is what I can do to help. We all have our talents, and this is mine. And so this is what I want to help. And Blake, I'm really happy to meet you in person, even though we've been chatting on LinkedIn for a while.
Same here. So great meeting you. You're the best.
Thank you. So I'm excited about this. I can't wait to see where it goes. And these guys are going to be doing really big things. And I'm really glad that I can be a part of it.
Absolutely. Hey, and you know me, that, you know, you did that. You didn't want any publicity for that. You just did that because you saw goodness and you wanted to help them and you could. Dadgummit, that's what we're all about. So, but you know me, I'm not going to let that slide. I'm going to pop you out here and let everybody know. So you have, 40 years of experience. You've wrote and worked with the best of the best. And anybody who needs copywriting, or when AI puts out some kind of crappiness, you can edit that, right, and make it actually work. So, but you know me, any last thing? I'm going to pop you out here and let everybody know.
Yeah, and the last thing you said is true. I mean, we're all familiar with what AI spits out these days, and I can humanize it. I can make it look like a human wrote it, put a voice to it, a business voice, conversational, whatever it might be. So that's a specialty that I've just recently developed, and I'm open if anybody has any projects for that. Mike, I'm going to send this back to you because it's really important what you're talking about tonight.
Thank you. Hey, I appreciate you, who you are, and love having you in the house. Absolutely. All right. Well, let me click the right button. Do me a favor. So we just had that, we had Blake on. So let's see. We'll go to Jamie Racebrook. See, did I do it right?
Ah, nice job.
Man, even a blind squirrel catch a nut every now and then.
We can train
right?
them all.
No.
Told you we can do it all.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, tell the folks, just give them a little bit of your history, background.
Everybody wants to know what I do.
Yeah, tell us.
That's exactly it. I help them find a purpose. No,
and how'd that come
about? Fluke, straight out. That's fluke. I've been out over 22 years now, and I had a purpose. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I went into the military knowing exactly what I wanted to do and signed papers doing it. What I did not plan for was a medical. Like most of us go in with our head held high, knowing we're going to go get them and do our thing and, get some. We're full of piss and vinegar, right? But what we don't plan for is a medical coming out. We don't go in. We don't go in with a plan of what comes out afterwards. I mean, we know it's a possibility. We all know it's a possibility. But what we don't plan for is that possibility, especially in our young teens and 20s or whatever when we go in. And 9/11 happened, like it did to a lot of us. And the year that I had come back to the States, because I was stationed in Japan, I had 23 seizures in 2 days. And after a few months, I had over 100 to 150 seizures within a couple months. What nobody understood, and they still hardly do to this day, is mental health and the grasp that it has on your ability to control your body. Everybody's quick to assign a disability to epilepsy, but they're not quick to understand the gravity that mental health has on that. TBI is obviously kind of starting to get an understanding what happens to mental health. But what I had was two types of seizures. I had a type that was for epilepsy, but I also had something called psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. Well, but that's what they're calling them now, but that's not what they were calling them then. And I had a diagnosis. I had actually proper diagnoses for everything. It was a combination of childhood trauma. I was a firefighter. I was the only female firefighter before I even joined the military. And once I joined the military and 9/11 started, and the combination of not wanting to leave the military, and all things that combine, my body wasn't able to express or communicate emotionally what was going on. So because I had seizures, or maybe not because I had seizures, because a lot of people now, what we're understanding is psychogenic non-epileptic seizures are very capable of taking on a lot of different aspects. I can have migraines, I can have depression, I can have anxiety, I can have illness just in general. What I've now been able to get doctors to kind of get on board. I'm just going to put it nicely. But at the time, I was trying to I've been trying to convince doctors how to do it healthfully. And that's kind of where we're at now, is that cusp of where mental health lies and how to get you to understand, or how to get people to understand where we got to take advocacy for ourselves. And I think a lot of things that I've been able to do for myself, and really understand that as much as we've worked out all of our lives, we got to practice how we speak to ourselves, how we practice every single day, getting up and, just taking on a healthy lifestyle. Meditation. I was like, I don't do the thing or whatever. Like, I would just have such a negative connotation on it, when actually it's like just deep breathing in itself is huge. I can have high blood pressures of 140 to 160 over 120 without even thinking twice, when it's actually a huge sign of me coming into a seizure. So that's kind of where I've now gotten this huge capability of really able to understand what is actually medical versus what is actually something that's an ongoing situation from outside resources. Is it a stressful event? Is it grief? Is it family, friends? Somebody pissed me off for the day? Is it ongoing event? Is it something that I'm doing that's kind of just bringing in my energy that I needed to get rid of and have needed to get rid of? Because before I was very, very volatile. That's just, I don't know how to say that nicely. But now I've really been able to filter out a majority of that. And where I've realized some of it is just our non-capable, we just, a lot of us didn't have we're not having an awareness, and then needing to have that awareness and really helping veterans bring in that vocabulary. And then once you have the vocabulary and you're able to, what is it that we're doing? You got to work it out. You got to work it out
Absolutely.
all day, every day. Right. So that's kind of in my aha. Then it comes to the VA. And that's another.
And we're going to get to that. I wanted, first of all, your vulnerability, you saying that. I mean, we're human beings. We could be tough all day long. I mean, you're the toughest people I know on this panel. But that doesn't mean you're immune to being a human being, right? And I mean, I thought I was okay, and then I saw my first, tragedy, and it affects you. I don't care who you are. So your vulnerability, you being, and you have a fan club. Did y'all see that? Man, it's she got this is all these people in here, just wow, they just think the world of you. And I think that says it all, because your vulnerability, and you use that to help other people. And man, and that's what ties us all together here. So I appreciate that. Blake, do us a favor, buddy. Let us know, if people didn't catch the last show that we did 2 weeks ago, your journey, right? What led you to the military, your experience in that, special forces, and then outside of that, kind of where you are today, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on, Mike. I was raised in South Florida, and then went to West Point on a lacrosse scholarship. I was super passionate about serving and leading our nation's most valuable resource, it's sons and daughters, and thought that there's no higher calling. And I still think there's no higher calling than that. I think it's a wonderful way to spend your youth. I was an infantry officer in the 82nd Airborne Division out of North Carolina. And then once I finished my time as an infantry officer, I became a special forces officer and focused on the Middle East. So I deployed out of Tennessee and focused on the Middle East for the last 6 years. Recently got out in October, and me and some other special operations guys founded a nonprofit to help veterans and first responders transition to the civilian life, but also to get the help that they need and to encourage them to be like Jamie is, vulnerable and authentic and very real about what they're dealing with in their lives. And speaking to what Jen was saying earlier, I want that to be a part of my legacy as well. I want to be somebody who's upfront about the stuff that he's dealt with and encouraging, because I think that's just a great way to use what God has given me. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, and so you said October, Blake. Is that last October, 23?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man, that was recent. Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's been very fresh. Very fresh.
Okay. You see, and I love this dynamic, right? Jamie's been out for quite a while. You've been out like yesterday almost. So I can't wait to unpack this discussion. And let's go to Shawn. All right, Shawn, man, you talk way too much, brother. I tell you what, this is the most I'll ever hear you talk.
I just want to point out that Blake and I have had the exact same look on our face the whole time. I just have the old first sergeant haircut still.
Yeah, he kept the haircut after the military, right?
I've had the same haircut since I was 16, man. My hair grows straight up. I look like a chia pet.
I was gonna say you can shave it now or change it up.
Oh, I know. You can. After about 3 weeks, I cut it right back to the way it is.
All right, whatever floats your boat, brother. It's the same thing to you. Your transition, what led you there, where you're at now. Yeah, floor is yours, man.
So I went to college a couple years before I joined the military, and I guarantee that Blake's college experience and mine were a little bit different. I was president of my fraternity and had a little bit of fun while I was there. But I joined after 9/11. I felt like I needed to do something different. My dad was career Navy. I grew up around the military. Didn't have anything against the military. Just was going to try a different path, and ultimately decided to join the military after 9/11. And and I knew if I made it to 10 years, I was doing 20. And then I just retired last year in June. So very shortly before Blake did. But I mean, it's one of those things where I felt I needed to do something more than what I was doing. And so, I made that jump, and something the wife and I talked about because we were married before the military as well. And so we made the most of it and did everything we could while we were in the military, and wound up in the military intelligence field. Really went that way because, I thought I was going to be Jason Bourne or something like that, but that's not what you do as an intel analyst. You get to do security clearances and arms room inspections when you're back at home, and then you get to do real intel when you're deployed. So, but either way, I had a great time doing my job and trying to provide that intelligence that would help the warfighter on the ground. And just all in all, there's so much you learned from the military that I even apply to today.
I didn't do that. I did not hit that mute button. Yeah, nobody's going to believe that. But some guy, Blake did it. Let's blame Blake, man. Nobody believe I did. All right. So here's one of the things I hear, this common theme, right? 9/11. And I joined the fire service after, right in 1999. So 9/11 hit 2 years after me. And I think half of the fire departments all around left for New York. And of course, you know what happened, right? We had like 5 alarm fires hit with 2 trucks left. And I got to do it. So I see this as a common theme. So Jamie, if you don't mind, how did your experience as a medic and nurse in Japan during 9/11, did that impact your perspective on the military service?
Impact my perspective? No, I mean, when we're in Japan, when we get stationed in Japan, we're actually packed, ready to go when we get stationed there. And we actually train constantly to leave. Like we know going in that this is a possibility because we're their military. So this was never like not a thing. What changed was 9/11, and what changed my position as a medic was actually that I end up going and working with the cops because Japanese no longer are able to protect our base. So I stopped being a medic and actually started becoming security forces. But it never changed my perspective. It just actually changed the urgency of we're going to leave and we're going to leave. Like as soon as we knew like stuff was happening, we knew it could be like tomorrow. But when it happened, I was within the 6 months of going back to the States, and I did not want to go back to the States. And I think what we didn't understand, or what I did not understand, is that I was not going to go. Even though inside my body said I'm going, like this isn't an option. So I think that part of me not being able to go when I've been doing nothing but training and working side by side with everybody is what happened. And that's what changed my perspective when it came to the military. At what we didn't comprehend or understand, and to this day I still really have a hard time discussing it, was what we didn't understand or have the capability of understanding was when we have to leave who we've been training with for so long. There's that thing called survivor's guilt, and 2 months into me coming back stateside, I had seizures. So this is the part where the grief part we've never really understood, because you feel like you've failed it. Because as a medic, you're supposed to be saving lives, and I wasn't there to save them or help. And then you feel like there's this, the more you're not doing your job or you're not performing. And that's been nothing but my job and I wasn't ready for this question. You're not there to be a part of your team, or you're not, you're just not capable, I guess. I mean, it's not true. And I know it's not true, but at the same time, you got to set yourself up to be able to communicate that. And when you're not able to communicate that to your brain and your body, when your emotions don't comprehend it, and I didn't have the capability of having those emotions, I think that's where we don't transition our veterans. And this is where I understand now transitioning veterans is vital. Like it's literally so vital to be able to train us one direction, but we don't train us to come back and understand what those emotions are. And this is where mental health has completely taken us by storm, is coming out of that training. And when we're no longer useful, especially when we have a medical situation, we're just literally getting discarded. And then civilian sectors pretty much have to take us on and have to deal with us. And that's kind of what happened with me. I just got followed. I literally got followed by my first shirt out the gate to get rid of me. But no longer did they just get rid of me. They tried to dishonorably discharge me. And this is where moral injury is coming into play right now, by a lot of military. And it's not that I'm going to badmouth the military, because I think there's a lot of good and there's a lot of people who had a lot of good service. But with me personally, I think when I did nothing but try my best, my very best to really do good by military, but it wasn't that I got the support I needed when I came out. And so that's where the long haul came in, to transition to get into the VA and get the medical support that I needed, especially when it came to mental health. So that's where that transition into getting the services and getting the medical to transfer onto the VA side. The mental health is what I've been fighting for. The other part, they comprehend epilepsy, but the mental health is what I appealed. And that's what took the 12 years of appealing the mental health. And I fought until I won. Like it wasn't a if, it was when, and I wasn't going to drop it, and almost to my dismay.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Again, we're human beings, right? You do a difficult job, and it's, I want people to see that, because we have military, thank you for your service, but what goes on behind the scenes is oftentimes you can't comprehend it, right? The fire service, EMTs, I mean, all of us, you see things and you deal with things. And then, in the 90s, it was just now starting to become, more mental health conscious. Like I remember the first time, it blew my shit away, to be honest. The first time we ordered some cheeseburgers, right? Because we were on the interstate, bad accident. And I was like, where's the tomatoes? They're like, well, we don't have tomatoes. I said, why not? Like, because it's red. And and they're like, well, because it might disturb other people. And I was like, what is going on? And that was kind of the first time I noticed that there was an actual incident, like an intentional push to understand, like people had problems, like, what we see on a daily basis. Like you talked about, being able to help people, and sometimes we weren't. I mean, I've had that experience as well, right? You're going to save somebody or to help someone and you're not able to. And those things compound, they do stack up. And then when you, the rescuer, or you, the soldier, or whatever, when you need help, there's not a whole lot there. Or we have this stigma that you're not tough enough or whatever. And so, it's not as much as what you're saying, but the emotion behind it. I want people to resonate that this is a serious issue, especially for folks that served our country. And now they come out and they have to pretty much oftentimes find their own resources. And that's why we're doing this show, so people don't feel like they're daggum by themselves, where they don't feel like they're by the, they're hopeless or whatever. There's advocates here, and you're living that. So thank you for sharing that. I know this is but we need to have deep discussion. We can't be just, people need to know that hey, this is not okay. People who serve our country, good people, they need to be taken care of, and there's resources out there. And if they don't believe, it's you guys, right? You guys have lived this. So again, it goes back to the hope that someone sees this and says, you know what, I do need some help. I'm going to reach out, because if you guys can do it, right, they can do it. And that's my perspective. That's why I'm proud to host this. So anybody got anything to add on this? Because I don't want to, floor is your guys. I mean, Shawn, let me go to you. What inspired you to create SOS, the VET S.O.S podcast and your organization, man?
So one of my mentors, Trevor Houston from the Who You Know Network, was the one who really pushed me to start the podcast. It wasn't something I ever planned on doing, but at the time I was doing a lot of LinkedIn videos and things like that. And so he really pushed me to try this. So, we got to talking and figured out that, there's over 40,000 veteran support organizations now, over 45,000 and growing. And the government doesn't tell you really about any of them. So we decided that we would take this on to try to educate the veteran population, veteran service members and spouses, about the various transition related organizations that are out there to help them, including the mental health piece. We've had the co-founder of 988 come on, and she did a great testament to not only her life, but also, the services they provide. We've had a couple of psychoanalysts come on and talk about, the work they're doing with PTS. And, so we've been able to reach out and find these resources, not just the common ones that everybody knows, but also additional ones. We've been doing it for over 2 years. We got over 100 episodes out, and we've just been blessed with a plethora of guests that want to come on and tell their story, talk about their organization and what they're trying to do to help our veteran community. And that led us this year to starting an educational resource spotlight to focus on the educational programs run on college campuses and then other ones that also support education, as well as the veteran entrepreneur spotlight to highlight those veteran entrepreneurs and veteran spouse entrepreneurs out there, so that people can learn, how to become an entrepreneur better, because the entrepreneurship and the education piece are both big parts of the transition. And ultimately, this whole experience over the last 2 years is leading us to start a nonprofit that'll focus on capturing every veteran and veteran spouse's transition story, so that we can create this sortable database that will hopefully help people by showing them they're not alone and that other people have gone through the exact thing they're going through. Because that's the number one thing we've heard, is that I thought I was alone. So hopefully we can really make an impact on that mental health aspect through the nonprofit.
Yeah, I love that too. I mean, because it's kind of blows my mind that, you come out of the military, right? You got all these skills, you have loyalty, you have courage, you have all these soft and hard skills, and they're not plugging into corporations. It's mind blowing, right? It's just insane. And I love what you're doing to help them start their own businesses, right? Like, hell, if nobody's smart enough to hire me, I'll just start my own, right? Like, I love that. I'm serious. And because I mean, we see it, like, these different coffee shops and these different things, and people love it. They love this, and I love what you could do to help arm that, to give them the skills and tools they need to transition to start their own business, because they have what it takes, right? They're tough as nails. Right? When shit gets hard, they're not going to just bail out, right? They're going to fight forward, and all they need is the resources. So, man, I love what you're doing with that. And man, when is your when is the podcast? Is it a set time every week?
So every Tuesday at 7, the Transition Podcast comes out starting in September. Wednesdays will be the Entrepreneur Spotlight, and Thursdays will be the Educational Spotlight. So we'll have three nights of content every week.
Awesome. Yeah. And we put that in the hounds too. I mean, we want to go out and support that. I mean, you guys are doing some amazing things. And this is what I mean, plug into this stuff, bring people with you. Other people want to support these kind of things. So, Blake, let me go to you, man, because when I found out you guys were jumping in a boat and paddling from Hawaii to the coast, I said, wow, I can't even drive that far, man. What was it? Like, how many miles? So let me go ahead and make sure folks get this. What inspired you? I mean, because you could have done a million things, right? There's a million opportunities, but what was it about Corsa racing after leaving the military that really got you going?
Yeah, man. So I got out in October, but my last deployment ended in July. So I had a pretty quick turn. I had a pretty quick turn from the last deployment. I came out of the last deployment pretty banged up. I was just like in a place, I want to be super transparent here and use this as an opportunity to do that. I was in a place where I was just like very angry at everybody and didn't really have a lot of empathy or compassion for people. I would see people that maybe didn't look like me or have the same thought processes that I did. And I just had very little patience and was super terse. I just had a lot of anger in my heart. And that started to kind of build and manifest in ways where I didn't have the relationship that I wanted to have with my now fiance. Was just absolutely deteriorating after us being together for a long time, like totally coming apart. My relationship with my siblings and my family, I wasn't present in, I wasn't willing to engage and have the conversations in. And my life was just like falling apart. And I ended up getting some help in the form of group therapy, which I'm a huge advocate and proponent for. And through the course of attending that therapy and doing all of that work, because it was work, I learned to like love people and have compassion and see the value in other people that I had totally lost. Like I had just completely lost that. And I saw at the same time that a lot of my peers weren't doing the work and they weren't addressing certain things. Right. So something that kind of came in front of mind was for me was when a lot of us, we joined the military, we're 18 years old or whatever, maybe we're really young. And the military is go, go, go all the time. And there's always the next step and there's always the next task, the next school, the next deployment. And so you really don't have a lot of time to reflect. And you're going like 100 miles an hour. And when you step away from the military, you realize that like, hey, I didn't really address some of the trauma stuff that happened to me when I was 16. I didn't address some of the stuff that happened to me when I was 15. I didn't address the things that happened to me on that deployment. And because I was just always going. And the wheels start to come off. And I'm so fortunate that I had people in my life that encouraged me to like, hey, you need to talk about some of these things. You need to get this stuff out and you need to learn. And at the same time, I'm seeing some of my peers who who are getting out of the military really struggling, like really, really struggling. Some of them still are like very much struggling. I've known a few people that have taken their lives. Pete, the other co-founder of Corsa Racing, I think he's at like 8 people have taken their lives in the last 2 years in his community or in his life. So that's where I really realized, like, okay, this is a huge problem. And what I wanted to do was essentially do something that was a little more high touch. And I wanted to find and cultivate a community of people that are like really authentic and can be really real about what they're dealing with. And that's what we've done with Corsair. So Corsair is an ocean rowing expedition nonprofit. We put veterans on boats in small teams. And there's a lot of the things that come over from being in the military or being a first responder. You have to do a lot of planning. You need to be physically fit. You need to be sharp. You need to be able to communicate really well in order to do this what could be a really high risk expedition. And so we've taken that and we're hoping to grow into the future where we do a lot of expeditions with veterans and, do 6 to 12 expeditions a year. And we use that veterans expedition to raise money for other nonprofits. In 2025, me and a team of 3 veterans are going to row from Monterey, California on a 32-foot boat from Monterey, California to Hawaii. It'll take approximately 35 days and it'll be 2,800 miles straight line distance. So that we're really using that expedition, which is a longer expedition, obviously, to get that out there and to encourage people to what we're saying, row your ocean, right? Like address the things that you maybe don't want to address. Things like a parent passing away, right? That has massive implications that can trickle down through the rest of your life if you don't get the help you need and address that thing. Or, different forms of abuse or combat related trauma, all of those things. You have to do real work to get through that. And the only way to do it is to go and get in counseling. We just want to be advocates for that and talk about the different things that are available to veterans within the VA and point them to some great resources that are out there.
Absolutely, man. I just, are you an avid rower? I cut out a little bit, so you may have answered this, but is that something you did a long time or back in the day, or was it just an awesome challenge? You're like, yeah, that's our thing.
No, I think I've run a few ultra marathons, so I'm kind of used to like longer, more endurance based events. And the cool thing about rowing is it's accessible, right? Like pretty much anyone can row. Even people who have some pretty strong disabilities, the visually impaired, they can row.
I don't know about that one. I think I'm going to leave that one for you guys.
But I was a lacrosse player and a boxer in college, and I think that the other thing that was really appealing to us with this is once you have the equipment, the ocean is free, and so as a nonprofit, we don't have to carry a large operating budget because we can just put guys, take guys to a boat ramp and put them on the water and make sure they're safe.
Yeah. But this blows me away real quick because we're going to get Shawn on. Shawn, you going to get on this or no? Are you going to do it next year? You going to do it next time?
I actually will. I'm going to chime into what you said, Blake, on the part where you get to unravel more than it's just the military. Because the fact of the matter is, like, I had childhood trauma since like I was 4, and I lost my father. He drowned like at 4 years old, and I never dealt with that grief. And I had trauma on top of trauma from childhood abuse and ongoing, right? So the fact of the matter is I just never dealt with any of the trauma and grief all the way into why I chose firefighting as the only female and then going into the military, just because I didn't have the emotion or the capability of like not being emotional. I was just really good at just not dealing, right? So by the time we get into these careers, we're like good to go. And I didn't have that support system coming out. Like a lot of people do have supports, but coming out, I was literally on my own. So a lot of people sit there and say, didn't you have anybody to help? No, I literally moved to LA by myself because I knew one of the major VAs were here. And only on because I was a medic. I knew what I needed as far as medical support, but I didn't have a single person here helping me. Right. So I think what we don't understand sometimes is like some people have that support or that inner push, and some people literally are by themselves having to get that help or trying to navigate a system in the VA. But if the VA doesn't have that understanding or resource, or if they're in the system asking for that help and they don't get the help, then what? Like, where are they left as far as getting that help through the VA? I just happen to be that stubborn to say this isn't right medically, right? Like if I didn't understand medically that this wasn't how I was supposed to be doing or feeling, to sit there and keep pushing the envelope. Okay, well, if I wasn't getting the answer from you, then I'm going to go find another doctor. Or if I didn't get the answer from that doctor, I would go to the director to get out of the VA. And if I didn't get the director to get on board, okay, well, I'm going to Congress. Okay, Congress, I need to get out of the VA to go get a surgery or another surgery, and keep pushing and keep pushing. But a lot of veterans, quite honestly, especially when it gets to the point of like they're not getting that continuity of care, or they didn't get the answer, and especially when it comes to mental health, because I already knew I needed to get mental health to get treated properly, but they're not getting the proper help. And this is where now I'm coming into a lot of veterans getting like into the VA, but they're not getting that continuity of care between doctor on top of doctor. And they don't understand that like they have the capability. They just need to find that inner military person. They got to find that voice again. Somewhere along the line, they just stop. They don't know how to find that beast again, right? Like the one who got us to join in the first place. They got to find that inner voice, that inner beast that says like, no, you can speak up for yourself. There's no reason why you can't. We don't have to just shut down because somebody told us we're broken or that you can't. But essentially something happens along the way that says we're no good anymore, we're broken, you got to stop trying. But essentially that's the opposite, the polar opposite. Just because we're by ourselves or whatever, you actually got to fight 10 times harder because we don't have that support system, or because you don't have everybody rooting for you all in a team, right? So that's kind of where you got to get, like on fire.
Yeah, let me bring this, because you brought up some great points. So my dad, he served in Nam, right? And he was transportation unit, and he does, he's not wealthy or anything. He's a regular guy, worked a job, he retired, and he was talking about some stuff. I said, "Hey, Dad," I said, "Man, go to VA." I was like, you served the country. They're there. They got the resources. And he was just stubborn, man. He's like, I'll be fine. I was like, no, it's there for you, And so on that note, there are resources available. There are things, healthcare, mental health, and there's a slew of them. But what are some of the things you can identify with? What are some of, what keeps people from seeking help? What is it? Sometimes is it pride? Is it just not knowing, awareness? Like, what are some things that you can say, that you can experience? Because this drove you guys to do what you do.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I definitely want to speak to this. So I was very fortunate that I've got a family that's incredibly supportive, praise the Lord. And they, they're very much encouraging me to take care of my stuff. Something that's been made very apparent to me since I've gotten out of the military. I have a dear friend who has seen a lot of combat, and there's a lot of people who don't give themselves enough credit for the things they've overcome in their life. Right. And there's a lot of people out there, I keep running into them, where they keep saying, oh, well, I don't know that I need to see a doctor to talk about this stuff. It wasn't that big a deal. X, Y, and Z happened to me. That happens to people all the time. I've got one dear friend who, hey, my dad walked out when I was 2, and my mom passed away when I was 18. I assumed all the responsibilities that she had when I was 18 years old. And then I immediately joined the military to get away from the pressure. And now I'm having a really hard time being in an intimate relationship. And I'm like, dude, all of these things are completely connected, and you need to work through all this stuff, right? Like that, just because you think it's normal for somebody's parent to pass away, and you think it's normal for somebody, to be walked out on as a child, doesn't make it okay, and doesn't make you have an incredible experience that you have to overcome. And one of the things that I've learned from this whole thing is like, whenever you get shook by trauma in your life, whatever it is, you're just basically dumping all of these bins of how you thought the world existed out on the floor. And if you don't reorganize that paper, you're lost, man. You're lost, and you're missing out on opportunities to be a better version of yourself as a father or a wife or a husband or whatever it is, leader in your community. So I think that's a huge part, Mike, is that people make excuses for themselves and say, other people have been through stuff like this and they get along just fine. And it's like, that's not necessarily the case.
Hey, thank you for saying that, because I've been there. It sounds harsh, but I mean, my self-talk, I'm not judging anybody. It was a victim mentality. And what you're describing is like, hey, you're not, but we feel that way. You get lost in the weeds, and especially when you deal with trauma, death, these kind of things, it's really, really weighs on you. And it's kind of like saying, well, why don't you save yourself from drowning? I mean, it really is. If there wasn't people in my life, I could have went a different direction. Right. And I think that's what's so important is you guys are all here to say, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're human, right? You just you need help. You need to work through. You need encouragement, and that's important, because the way I see it is this: there's all kind of resources and people and things out there, but they don't speak the language. You do, right? And you'll hear me say that. Me and Jamie was talking about that earlier, right? Like I said, sometimes I'll say something like, hey, what's the most manly thing to do, right? Hold it in, kick a stray cat on the way home, and be an asshole to your family, or dive in and do the hard work, right? Because we all know, and we're not preaching. We've been there. I buried my head in the sand like an ostrich from some of those trauma and those things that I've seen. But then I'm like, hey, this is not a way to live. Quality of life. I'm alive and I'm not living, right? And I think that's what I hear you guys kind of saying is, hey, there's a difference between just being alive, but hey, living life, making something happen. And this is what I love about you. Y'all just regular people. You just regular people. And you said somebody's got to do something. And wasn't nobody there, so you guys started doing something. And that's what I mean. And back to Shawn real quick. How do somebody get involved? Like, how do you find your guests, right? How do you plug people in? Like, if somebody right now wants to join and kind of get involved with you, the podcast, the community, is it word of mouth? I mean, tell us a little bit about that community that you've got going on, buddy.
It actually all started because I was able to do like 26 different transition programs. So like I was blessed to have a lot of time, and granted, I'll be the first to admit that's overkill. You don't need to do that many. But many of those people were my first set of guests because I met them through their program. So it really started with word of mouth, talking to people, learning about new resources, working the connections. I learn about a new organization, I reach out to them. And I try to get to the person that can come on a podcast, whether that be the CEO or a publicist or whoever that could be. And I build that relationship, and I try to, get them to come on the show. And it's right. Been the same way with the entrepreneurs and the educators. It's, reach out to them, try to make some sort of connection, and then, learn about what they're doing. Now, the one thing I do try to do is talk to every single guest before I book them. Just to verify some things, and do a little like pre-screening, if you will, and, make sure everything's a good fit and everything's lined up. And, I've been blessed to just have some amazing people come on the show and talk about some amazing services that they're offering to our community.
Yeah. Just showing up. I mean, it's like Field of Dreams, man. Y'all just built it and people came, right? Like to me, it doesn't, it's not something that you want to get the visibility out. And this is the whole point of this, right? We want to make sure people are aware of, but it doesn't take a lot of marketing effort to say, hey, there's good people doing great things, right? Yeah. I didn't need a flyer. I just said, hey, look at this. We're going to promote this. We're going to make sure people get this because people matter. And that's the biggest thing. I keep saying it like a redneck parrot. There's nothing wrong with you. That's not wrong with any other human being on earth. You're just human. And I'm telling you, if it wasn't for people to surround me and help me out, and people I know, we've talked about this before, backstage, Blake, it's some of the toughest men I know just couldn't handle the pressure. I mean, it's tremendous pressure, right? And you don't have to do it alone. And that's what I mean. Even if, well, I don't have this or I can't find that. Hey, you got support here. If maybe we'll create something, right? And that's what the attitude. I love this attitude of getting it done. And again, this is why it blows my shit away that people don't hire military veterans like left and right. I was like, man, soft skills mean everything. So real quick, while I got you on up front, was it a challenge to transition for you, Shawn, military service to, civilian life and then nonprofit? Because I led a nonprofit. Wow, man, people don't get it, man. It's a different animal. So,
Yeah.
how was that trend? Was it very much difficult? Did you have a lot of skill set that transferred? Did you have to learn a lot of new things? How was it?
So the transition piece for me really wasn't that hard because I joined at 28. I was already, out of college in the civilian sector doing regular work. So it was just sort of remembering some of the old things. And now, granted, there's still some things that you learn in the military become day-to-day things that you have to tone back a little bit, when you go back to the civilian sector. Like you can't go down and yell at somebody in their office because they're late to the meeting that you had scheduled. You have to be a little bit more professional than that. But the transition itself to me wasn't that difficult because I was very aggressive, and I went after what I knew I wanted. Um, as I start to make this transition into nonprofit stuff, I've done some nonprofit worked with the Boy Scouts of America, worked with a couple other nonprofits. I've been learning a little bit along the way. There's all kinds of classes and education you can partake in, free services out there to help you, learn different skills. So, been trying to pick up as much as I can. That way, as we launch this nonprofit, we really can do it the right way and not rush to failure.
I'm going to point
Love
out
it.
the difference between mine and his is the fact that like we both kind of had a plan going in, but my plan got veered off in a different direction, which a lot of military do. And the fact that he like pre-planned going out, and what we're realizing between transitioning is the fact that transition takes like a huge plan coming out. It's not like what everybody's kind of getting told is that TAP is going to set you up for success coming out. Like you've got to really like look into your resources way ahead of time. And we're not saying way ahead of time, like the general, like 6 months or even a year. It's really taking like 18 months to 2 years minimum to like really understand your resources. Cause there's so many now. There wasn't any of those when I got out. And what you really have to understand is what's available. The VA is not going to be able to do your resourcing, right? What you really need to understand is what your plan is going to be and how you're going to execute your plan going out. And what Shawn did like so beautifully is have his plan already executed before he was coming out. So like where he was able to transition it and understand it and like know what he was going to go into and like really verbalize it, right? He went right into it with grace and like go into smoothly because he had a purpose already going in. Whereas like somebody like me, my plan, my purpose and what was going to happen completely got derailed. So what happened when I came out, what I realized for the longest time, I kept going and looking in a rear view mirror. And when I'm going into a rear view mirror going, I'm going to go back to nursing. I'm going to go back to nursing because that was my plan. And that was like always been my plan. It was the more I kept trying to look in that rearview mirror and go backwards, which a lot of veterans do and stay in for so long, is they keep revisiting that story. And when they're revisiting that story is like, I was this, I was that, I was this. And when they physically can't do that anymore, and it becomes this mental breakdown. Like after a while, we just want to revisit what I couldn't do or can't do or whatever. And that keeps telling us that story instead of like, okay, now how are we going to flip that script and say, what can you do with the skills you have? And, or even if like I had a set of skills for nursing, right? I had that capability, but when medical completely takes you out and you have to retrain it and you're feeling like, whoa, how am I going to go back to school? Or like everything is off. You're feeling now we got to find a new purpose. Like that's going to take some work, right? Like that's really you're going to have to dig in deep here when we've never really even been asked, what do you want? Like, why do you want it? Right? Like that takes pen and paper and you literally got to write down what do you want. Like nobody asked us that. We don't know what the hell we want. Like we knew, but at the same time, like now when I've worked with veterans like one-on-one and they're in crisis, but they don't know what it is they want. Well, I want a job. They just want a job, but they don't know what it is. And you can't even find them a recruiter at that point. It's hard to find you a recruiter if you don't even know how to verbalize what it is you're wanting. So that's where it comes to like some serious work, is getting them to like really comprehend what it is and why they want it. That's the transition between his and I's is it's so valid that they need to start that work way early before transition.
Well, see, and that's what you do, right? So they're like, well, what does Jamie do? Well, you go out there and help other organizations and places that can
Right, but
plug in,
I
advocate.
gotta know what you. I can't do that. You got to. You got to do that. But I
Right.
help them like get to that point. Yeah.
Right. You kind of guide them and say, hey, if you have this issue, these organizations or this people or and also you advocate
Send
for
them to
VA.
Shawn.
Yeah,
He's
send them
got the
yeah,
resources. Yeah, he's the man.
or that expensive ass rowboat, right? That we need to get that money raised for, man. We're gonna buy about 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I've
So
had too many shoulder surgeries for that rowing, son. Shoulder
I was
surgery.
gonna, but you have the
Or else
grit
I'd be
for
in
it
that
though.
boat in a minute. Yep.
Oh, I know it. And I wouldn't be in the boat with you because I wouldn't outlast you and I would have to feel bad about that. So I
Oh,
know
you
where
got it.
I
You got
stand.
those little skinny arms.
Yeah, I'd have
You
to
be out
work
there.
out for a couple of years. I had to get Jamie strong before I went. All right. So let me ask you, let's wrap up on this one because Hounds, appreciate you guys, showing up, supporting across the board, a lot of new folks. And, I love to see the outpour of support for you guys because you're good people. You're people, right? And you served, and people just don't get what that toll takes on you physically and mentally. It really does wear you down. So when you see, when you tell military, first responders, hey, thank you for your service and sacrifice, that really goes a long way because it absolutely is. And I appreciate what you guys do. So here's the last question. Any final words, advice, or call to action for you, your organization? This is the time to not be shy. Let folks know how they can plug in. If they can donate money, time, advocate, visibility, all the above. Let them know that. So Blake, we'll go to you, buddy. What folks are struggling out there? How can they plug in to get support? And also, how can they come in to be a part of Course Racer? And when is it?
Yeah, so Corsa Racing is based out of Charleston, South Carolina. So right now we're kind of targeting people in the Southeast to get them out on the boat just because it's kind of a light lift. We're really interested in finding corporate sponsorships and donations are very much appreciated. One thing I did want to highlight and kind of like as a going out is if you know anybody that just needs to be encouraged, needs someone to talk to and brainstorm with, anyone on our team is like would be really passionate about getting on a call and just and offering words of encouragement, because I think so many veterans just need that. They need to be, for lack of a better term, they just need to be loved on, especially in that period of transition. And I think marrying what I do with what Jamie does with what Shawn does should be a great offering. And then the other thing I'll say is there's so many resources, and I'm sure Shawn's really sharp on this stuff as well. There's so many resources for going back to school now. We're very, very fortunate as opposed to when Jamie got out. Yep. That is a wonderful buffer time for young veterans who have the GI Bill. So it's an awesome opportunity, and it gives people a little bit of breathing room to figure out what their next steps are as they decompress from stepping away from uniform service. So please connect with us. We're on LinkedIn at courser.racing, and then our website. You can reach out to us on either of those. If you have anybody that you think would benefit from talking to us, we'd love to help.
And is it next summer, right? June?
It'll be next June. Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
Next June. Weather dependent.
And
late June, early July.
So these boats, the equipment, all that stuff. We talked about it last show. So guys, go on my profile, check out that last show. It's really fun. I mean, really wild. So what is your goal? Like, what is your monetary goal, and how can folks go? Is it just the website, and how much do you need to get the equipment, boats? You don't want the veterans paying anything, right? So we need to get them out there. We need to get them positioned, supplied, ready for the show. What's this cost?
Yeah. Right now we're kind of shooting for the $150,000 mark. We've raised a fair amount of money, but any dollar helps. We also have a store that's on our website where we've partnered with an artist out of Virginia, wonderful guy, and we're rolling out these shirt designs And some of the shirt designs are all the different ways we could die at sea. They're like cartoon versions of that. They're really cool. So if you get a chance to check those out, please do.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody go do that. Check out his website. Sign up for it. We'll be promoting this throughout the year for the Hounds of Business. And man, just again, you're not some expert. You didn't go to school for nonprofit. You're just people that are like, hey, somebody's got to do some shit about this, and we're going to do it. So I don't know. I know the pack. I know how they think. I know who they are. And man, like I said, Barbara, hey, she was just the leader of the pack there, right?
She's the
CJ,
best.
Dr. Constance Leland. All right, she's coming in with TV shows, and I mean, wow. So hey, it's not just money. $10, man, that's $10. We get $10 times 1,000. Now we're getting somewhere, right? So open it up, right? Everybody's been impacted, even if you're not a military or a first responder. Mental health is mental health, and we're human beings, and we need to put each other first, whenever and however possible. So I love your heart, man. I love your openness. You're one of the toughest guys I know, but you're also one of the biggest hearts, man. I think, hey, you can be tough and have a big ass heart too, right? Like that describes all of you all. So appreciate you. Shawn, I'm going to show your website as well. Let folks know what you do, how they can plug in, and how they can support, right? Can they restream things, donate? I know folks are dying to find out, so don't be shy.
Yeah, so I mean, I applaud Blake and Corsair Racing. I mean, there are a handful of outdoor veteran organizations that are doing great things, and that's quite a haul from the States to Hawaii. Good luck. I prefer the boat with the motor and the fishing poles. So I mean, I'll let you guys do that. And
me too, honestly.
I do applaud
boat.
you because it's so great when you see the veterans get out on the water, and it's so therapeutic for them. So that's just really awesome. Yeah. So our website, VET.SOS currently we are going through a fundraising campaign to launch our nonprofit, trying to get some starting capital. Our goal right now is $25,000. We have a GoFundMe out there, so we're trying to raise some funds that way so we can actually launch this properly. And then, of course, we'll be looking for further donations down the road as we bring on a staff and start to grow as a organization. But as far as what we do with VET S.O.S, it's all about education. We don't claim to be experts. We're not experts. We're just out there talking to people so that you can go out there and you can hear about these different organizations and find the one that's best for you. Because every organization offers things that are similar. Everyone offers things that are different. Go on there, check them out. We're going to be adding some features so you can sort through the episodes a little easier, look for certain types of things. But check them out and see if you can find that perfect thing for you, because transition truly has so many opportunities. It's up to you to figure out what works best for you and to really go after it.
Man, well said. What you do is great, and again, you have a lot of support, a lot of allies, right? Go to the website, subscribe to YouTube channel, and check this out. Support the people, support all the folks on here. It's amazing. And then we'll close out with Jamie, because sometimes somebody doesn't want to do things. They just don't have the courage, or whatever may be the case, to go and knock on a door or to show up at a podcast. They just need a friend. And that's how I kind of see what your role is, Jamie. Right. And then you are connected with all these brilliant
I'm
guys
your
and
friend.
ladies and all these different organizations. And so just be a friend. Right. So on that note, what is your best, advice? And, somebody out there struggling or not quite sure what to do. How can you help? How can they reach out? And what's your best advice for those people?
Well, like Shawn's been doing, he's been familiarizing himself with organizations. I've kind of been doing the same thing. But I still keep I still have a medical to really still make sure that I homeschool my son too. So he's a three times of a job, but I'm working on a project behind scenes right now, and it's going to come to light in a few, I'm not sure when actually, but it's kind of more focused because now that I really understand transitioning, and I think there's going to be a point where it's going to be very pinnacle for transitioning veterans to have a place to go. a center of sorts. And that's kind of where my heart has been focused on. So I'm working with somebody who's got a documentary, who's been focused on bringing that to light and bringing awareness to events, to bring all your nonprofits into one center location for all the veterans and all the military to say, this is where you guys need to be and this is where you guys need to go. And so that is kind of where I'm really kind of pumped and excited about, because I was like, finally, we got something here so that we can point them in a direction and get them to a resource center of sorts. They've kind of already been started in a few different areas. And so that's kind of where I'm going to start putting a lot of my effort into focusing on now. Everything that we've been all focused on in different directions, I want to have them all in one area and one center and get this party started on getting help, like early, often, however often, doesn't matter, no time frame. If they want to go in while they're active, they can. If they want to go in when they're transitioned, they can. If they want to go whenever, however. And it's not going to take a lot to get these centers started because they're already up and running. It's a matter of getting the government on board and getting their money and writing their checks. So that's where I kind of really focus on getting these documentaries started so they can get the events with their government funds. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And that's how I'm kind of getting excited about it. I'm just telling you, it's going to be hot because that's where all your guys' nonprofits can kind of be funneled right into all of them and get the funds properly.
You've been back there like a mad scientist. Now everybody knows why. Like, she has been laser focused, like 15-hour days. I answer the phone and she's like, I'm focusing. And now I know what it is.
Well, I just do a lot of Zooming, but I mean, I do mentoring is if somebody's in crisis, I'm not messing around with them. Like, I've been working with people like one-on-one just because that's my priority. Like, if I have somebody that needs help, everything stops. It will always be priority over everything else. So anybody who needs help, the same with what Blake said, we're gonna drop everything because there's just not enough resources right now. That's just all there is to it. So we're gonna get you help. And I've had people say that they think that they're gonna get charged for VA, or VA is gonna charge them if they use go to emergency room. That absolutely is not true. You're not going to be charged if you go to emergency room, urgent care, whatever. If a veteran thinks that they need help at any point, you go to emergency room. If you had a broken foot, you would go.
Right.
So if you have a broken head, you go to emergency room at any point in time. So don't think twice. You go get seen. And it's a crisis. It's an emergency.
Yeah.
So I can't stress that. I just absolutely cannot stress that enough.
And don't assume, right? Assumption is the mother of all mess ups.
Don't be your doctor.
Right? Shawn,
let the doctors
Shawn
be
was
your
like,
doctors.
Exactly. But here's what I want to call out for you guys, man. First of all, your heart, everything you do, it resonates. People in the comments, folks that will see this later on YouTube, we get it. We appreciate your service and sacrifice. And now you're in chapter 2. You're serving others and doing this. And here's my call to you. Who helps the ones helping others? So my call to the hounds and the viewers out there watching, support these people. Support Shawn, support Blake, support Jamie. How? Hey, repost things on social media. Give them encouragement in the comments and messages, right? Introduce them to folks that could be a good fit for them, their organization. You see somebody struggling, make an introduction, right? Go back to kindergarten class, right? Say, I just want to meet a guy. Don't say why. Hey, he's got a great cause going on, right? Simple little moves like that can create such a forest fire positivity and mental health really changes in this. So my advice is
right now.
You never know. Again, we just kind of went through this experience personally, and that's where my heart is. So I know this has been a really, serious conversation, but dadgummit, we have to have it because people's lives are on the line and quality of life is on the line. And what you guys are doing from the ground up is tremendous to me. I respect you like no other. And as you can tell, the hounds, the friends of the hounds, and pretty soon, just everybody's going to want to pour in and help you guys. So if just one person benefits from this, it was all worth it to me. But I know it's going to be many, many more. So appreciate your service today, in the previous service. Folks, hey, hounds in the comments, appreciate you. Love you guys. Next week, we'll have the great Christine Bell on. And oh, real quick, I forgot. Did you see this comment? Come on, April. I thought we were friends. All right. So we might have to, hey, Blake, we might have to be crazy enough to do a Hounds of Business fundraiser. So if we raise enough money, Mr. Skinny Arms here is going to have to do it, man. I don't know. We'll have to work out the details.
Go in the courser? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As
No,
long as
I'll get you on the boat. We'll do like a good solid 8 hours, just a smoker. It'll be awesome.
Oh, hell. Dude, oh, no, I don't know, man. I can see it now. You'll raise
No, you crush it. You crush it. I'm short. I'm a short guy. Tall guys crush.
As long as I'm not rolling with Jamie, I'm okay. I know she's going to destroy.
There's no way I'd hang.
And by the way, what is this, like a 55-day roll? I mean, it'll
be 35. 35.
Shit, Steve.
Oh, no problem.
35.
A month. You're good to go, dude.
In the ocean?
No problem.
Man. Yeah, that's dedication.
Y'all
So hey, you guys
smell so good.
I'll roll with Shawn. You see those arms, man? It's like the Hulk reborn over there.
You ain't gonna see me rowing. give me a motor and let's go.
I can see it now. Hey, roll faster, redneck, or I'll throw you off. That'll happen for 35 days. Hell, we'll make it there in 70 days with just me rolling. Shawn, we don't want to do that. So, all right, guys, appreciate you having some fun, but it's a serious issue. Plug in, help these people doing life-changing things, guys. So I tell you what, we'll see you on the next one, and we will keep you posted on our profile, Hounds of Business, YouTube. We're going to keep this going for the whole year, and because advocacy is not just a day or a month. It's the whole damn year. So let's get it going, guys. Appreciate you. Love you guys. Have a great one. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.